Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Sumukascha Ekadantascha Kapilo Gajakarnakaha. Lambodharascha Vikato Vignarajo Vinayakaha. Dhumaketurganadhyakshaha Palachandro Gajananaha. Vakratundaha Surpakarno Herambah Skandapurvajaha. Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Sasivarnam Chaturbhujam. Prasannavadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopasanteye. Yasyadhyaradavatradhya Parishadhya Parasatam. Vignam Nigdhanti Satatam Vishvatsenam Tamastraye. Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheswaraha. Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya Aklishtakarine. Namo Vedanta Vedhyaya Gurave Buddhisakshine. Krishna Dvaipayanam Vyasam Sarva Bhuta Hiteratam. Vedabjabhaskaram Vande Samadhi Nilayam Munim. Janmatyasya Yataha Anvayat Itaratascha Arteshu Abhignaha Swarat. Tene Brahma Hridayah Adi Kavaye Mukhyanti Yat Surayah. Tejo Vari Mridam Yatha Vinimayo Yat Ritri Sargo Mrusha. Dhamna Sena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. Dharmahat Prochida Kaita Votra Paramo Nirmatsaranam Satam. Vedhyam Vastavam Atra Vastu Sivadam Kapatrayon Mulanam. Srimad Bhagavate Mahamuni Kimva Parairisvaraha. Sadhyo Hridi Avarudhyatehe Atra Krutibihi Susrushubihi Takshanat. Nigama Kalpataror Galitam Palam Sukamukat Amrita Dravasam Yutam. Sibata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muhuraho Rafikaha Bhuvi Bhavukaha. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaiva Narottamam. Devi Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet. With Bhagavan's grace, let us continue. We are doing Slokam 70 and 71 in Adhyayam 26, Skandam 3 in Srimad Bhagavatam, where Bhagavan mentions about Kshetrajna. The Kapila Bhagavan himself is a Kshetrajna in the Avataram, and he talks about Kshetrajna. Because he has described the various, what Kshetra is, how Kshetra is made in creation. So he is talking about now Kshetrajna. So to understand what Kshetra and Kshetrajna is, understand the differences, and what is the charter. Now I am in this Kshetra. So what is my charter? Is to realize, to know the Kshetrajna. And that knowledge, what is that knowledge that gives me the knowledge of Kshetrajna? That Bhagavan is going to describe in Bhagavad Gita. We came up to in Adhyayam 13 in Bhagavad Gita. Kshetrajna Vibhaga Yoga. Now, we saw Slokam 5 and 6 in that Adhyayam 13 that Swami describes very briefly. Hey, this is what Kshetra is. Okay? And those are the 24 aspects that we have covered, all those put together. Okay? Interestingly, if you go back one slokam before, one or two slokam before, Bhagavan also talks about, I'll tell you about what Kshetra is, and also the various types of where it has come from, and how many so many varieties are there, and from where it has come. Okay? And that Kshetrajna also I'll tell you. And then he talks about the Vedangal, all talk about only the Kshetrajna, the Puranangal, Shastrangal, the Rishigal, every padam that they talked about only point to the Kshetrajna only. And just to give you an example, it occurred to me as we were going through our prayer slokams today. So how true that statement is. So if you look at the prayer slokam, Nigama kalpataror galitam phalam sukamukat amrita drava samyutam. Vibhata Bhagavatam Rasamalayam Muguravoho Rasikaha. No, the one before that. Bhavukaha, that before that. Dharmaha Prochida Kaitavaha, that slokam. The last line is Sadhyaha Rudi Avarudyatehe Atra Krutibihi Sushubihi Takshanat. Takshanat, the moment. The important, the word is Sushubihi. Sushubihi. Those people who hear, who listen to this and who actually hear the Sushubihi, hear it in the right way. That Su is very important. That points directly to Bhagavan. He says, at Takshanat, to the same instant, they will be one. There is a knowledge of this Kshetrajna. So like this, every padam in Bhagavad Gita, in anything that you take in Srimad Bhagavatam, if I approach it the right way, if I hear it the right way, I'm immediately, instantly put in touch with the Kshetrajna. So that jnanam is described now in Slokam 7 through 11 in Bhagavad Gita. Various qualities are described here. Hey, this is what's important. If you have all this, this is called the jnanam, Swami says. And if you don't do anything other than this, it's ajnanam. Okay, so what are the things that Swami is going to talk about? It might look unsurmountable for oh my God, how is it possible for me to do all this? Not necessarily. You don't have to lose heart. And we can start with any one of these characteristics and qualities and a description that Swami is going to give us. That itself will take us to all the other aspects of this jnanam. Ultimately and totally, then we will have this jnanam. The jnanam will reveal from within me, within you, if you practice it. It's like that. Amanitvam, adambitvam, ahimsa, shantihi, arjavam, acharya upasanam, saucham, thairyam, atma, vinigraha. Amanitvam, the absence of self-praise, self-pride. In Tamil we say Tarperumai. Without that Tarperumai, real humility, okay? And you will find the person of scholarship, a person who's really, really educated, will have this. He'll have absolute humility. There will be no self-praise and beating one's own bugles, or blowing one's own bugles, so to speak. Okay? And so that amanitvam is the first one. And it is not difficult to develop. It's actually very easy. The next one is also equally easy. Adambhitvam. Adambhitvam means, we do many good things, or what is prescribed in the scriptures. I am doing this consciously and conscientiously, to sincerely offering to Bhagavan and putting into practice Swami's teachings. Whatever it may be, any one teaching, one or two teachings is enough. You don't have to do all the things that is prescribed. This is the beauty of Sanatana Dharma, because Bhagavan, the lotus feet, can be approached in infinite ways. In any way that I choose, I can approach it, because he's present in infinite ways. But I must approach it sincerely. He must want to approach it, and then he himself will guide. Okay? So I practice Swami's teachings, I do charities, or whatever else that I do. I do tapas, I do meditation, whatever I do, individually and personal time with Bhagavan. And that spiritual sadhana that I'm doing, this adambitvam means not broadcasting it, not broadcasting all the good things one does, the charities I do, the donations I make, None of those things, they will not take us close to Bhagavan at all. They will keep us away. Very important to remember this. So, the first two are very easy. Amanitvam, Adambhitvam, that between me and Swami, between me and Bhagavan quietly. This is very important to understand. If I'm doing some good activity, some beneficial activity, I should be feeling blessed. Oh, Swami, you have given me this. Please carry this out through me. And that's all. It's a worship, it's a prayer. Because Bhagavan can select any one of the 6.3 billion human beings to carry out the activity that I'm doing right now. Seriously. There's nothing special or great or anything. Only His grace that I am here in a talking role. That's all. And tomorrow He might put somebody else. That's His call. He decides. So it is His work. You must always remember that. His work, and like Hanuman was, one should be blessed to be an instrument to carry out Bhagavan's work. That's all. There is no, when you approach it that way, there is no amanitvam or adambhitvam. Then ahimsa. Ahimsa means this is immediately non-violence. See, ahimsa. Himsa means to hurt. Ahimsa means not to hurt. That's all. It's different from being non-violent, okay? Because hurt can take place quietly also, without being violent, physically violent. Why? I may think ill of somebody. I may talk ill of somebody. I may hear ill about somebody. I may do ill to somebody, hurt somebody. These are all himsas. I should not do any of these. Now, equally important, these are things to remember. Mentally, hearing-wise, speaking, talking, and hearing and doing should not hurt anybody. So I don't know whether I'm doing this or not. So Bhagavan himself says, since you're always doing with ego, ahamkaram, there's always some hurt involved. Whether I praise someone or I deride someone, both are forms of hurt only. Because if I'm praising someone, I may be boosting his ego. Isn't it? So many problems are there in dealing with, in leading one's life. Each one is so subtle and so sukshman. It's like walking on a banana peel, as Paramacharya says. Very difficult. On a nice edge it is. So, whatever I do, I may think it is good or whatever it is, I must offer it to Bhagavan. If I have a so-called a bad thought, immediately offer it to Bhagavan. So, that's a practice I've got to do to get into the ahimsa state. Thing that's in my control very easily, how I speak. Very difficult, very important skill. Okay, I wish they teach how to speak in schools. Speak the truth always. Speak softly, speak sweetly, but never speak untruth even sweetly. And don't speak truth harshly to hurt somebody. The rules are there. These should be taught, so we should train ourselves in that. Okay, and this speaking that Hanuman, that Rama was so impressed with Hanuman when Hanuman went and talked to him as Sugriva was messenger first time. What did Rama tell Lakshmana? Look, Lakshmana, see how sweetly he speaks. So much information he conveyed in so few words, with such humility and in a balanced way. Right? So that is what our dharma is. Now, that has to be learned. But another easy thing that we can, without knowing we're hurting people, how do I dress myself? The way I dress myself, I appear to others. If I appear dirty and unkempt, okay, if I dress in a crude way, somebody may be affected. Whereas if I dress decently and in a proper way that does not generate any reaction from anybody, then that is ahimsa. So the way I appear, my physical appearance also is important. And how I keep my surroundings. So everything is important, okay? And including shutting the door of a car when I get down. How do I shut it? Do I shut it with a bang or do I shut it gently? These are all, or a refrigerator door in our house. How do we shut it? So everything becomes part of this ahimsa, not only ahimsa attitude, but imbibing the ahimsa conduct. Okay? So ahimsa is very important. Now mental, vocal, physical, and the external appearances and speaking, so many aspects are there in ahimsa. We can practice that. Okay? Arjavam. Arjavam is straightforwardness. Straightforwardness. Shantihi. Shantihi is the next term. Shantihi means is Shama. And the word comes from Shama. Shama is a very important human value. Again, as we have discussed many times before, it is forbearance. It is more than patience. Okay, Sahana is patience. When things happen that give me some trouble, give me some problems, but I bear it because I'm not capable of removing that particular happening. My boss may be getting mad at me, for example. I need the job, I need the money, so I keep quiet and bear it. Okay? That is sahana. Mentally I may be agitated, but I bear it and move on. But shama is something far superior. When things happen that punish me, that gives me suffering, that what I consider to be very unfair things are happening. Oh my God, this is not fair. So many things happen in everybody's life. But if I receive it and accept it, and with forbearance, born out of the knowledge and imbibing conduct that Swami, this is your prasadam to me. When I take that approach, that forbearance that comes with that, accepting, not receiving and not resisting, but receiving and accepting everything wholeheartedly, totally. Initially it may be difficult, but that has to be practiced. That it's all prasadam from Swami. He is doing the best for me. Bhagavan is doing this. That as we become more skilled at that, better and better at that, but faith in Bhagavan improves. And then I bear everything that happens. And Bhagavan says, Swami says very beautifully, bear all and be nothing. This is instruction from Avataram himself. That is Shama. And then, in a normal life, something happens to me, suffering or whatever, that situation, I have the power and the ability to remove it. Right? Then I don't use that power. I just bear it. Bhagavan's prasadam. That is Shama. Very important to understand. That is Shantihi. Okay? It is much more than patience, much more than forbearance. It is an acceptance and receiving with gratitude and accepting wholeheartedly the happenings that I may dislike as prasadam from Bhagavan. That is Shantihi. Arjavam. Arjavam is straightforwardness. Straightforwardness. This means I don't double speak. Okay? And approach is very like a child it is. Okay? I have no rancor or enmity, or there's no transactional basis on which relationships are done, because I don't need anything from anybody. Bhagavan is the one who's taking care of me. So you deal. The interrelationship is one of straightforwardness, like the way the rishis were all there, like this in the in all the Idigasana that we read all those days. They spoke their mind in a straightforward manner. That does not mean in a hurtful manner. No. Straightforward, truthfully, without causing any hurt. Okay? So the Arjavam is a very important quality. Okay, that can be developed. It's not very easy, very difficult. Then Acharya Upasanam. This is very important. Acharyan is the one who practices what he teaches. That's all the definition of Acharya. Okay? Nothing to do with the dress he wears or the following he has, the number of disciples, wealth, fame. None of those things matter. Simply, are you following what you are saying? Then I learn something from him because that is truthful. For that person, I worship, not only respect but reverence. Upasanam. Then I mentally place myself with him and learn from him, because he practices what he preaches. Okay, if he says Satyam Vada and he always speaks the truth, and he says Priyam Bruyat, speak sweetly, Satyam Bruyat, speak the truth, and then I see that he does that, I learn that important human skill, human value from him. Upasanam, with tremendous reverence and respect. And that Acharya Upasanam. This is extremely important. These are all very straightforward, simple things actually, but sounds very strange today. Today, where we are situated, where everything is kind of, most things have become transactional and based on money, that kind of a nonsense. So we're not able to relate to this. But fundamentally, these are very simple. Okay? Saucham. Saucham means, in the English word, is purity. Bhagavan himself says, the first thing you've got to do if you want to approach me is to keep your body and surroundings clean. He doesn't talk about mind. Mind comes next. Okay? First thing is body and surroundings must be kept clean. A very simple step in purity. Then the mental purity. Mental purity, the only soap, the only detergent that can wash away the impurities in my mind, the impurities born from the six enemies. It could be jealousy, it could be greed, it could be lust, it could be acquisitive desires, it could be pride, whatever it could be. Those impurities are deep-rooted. And the only soap, the only detergent that can wash it away is prema. Nothing but prema. And that can be developed only through service. So the mental purity, purifying the mind, is a real tapas. The agitations in the mind bring lots of heat. And when all the things are put in fire, then naturally fire is hot. That heat is what we call tapas. But the purification, refinement process, by chanting Bhagavan's name, keeping Bhagavan's company. When you say Bhagavan, it is nothing but prema. It is one and the same, nothing but love. If I channel my thought towards I must be loving. Very simple. That way you can translate it very easily into a practical thing. Bhagavan means immediately my God is somewhere else. No. He's present very much in the love within me and the love in everybody else. So I must learn to keep myself in proximity of it, close to it. I must embrace it. I must carry it with me. I must carry this Bhagavan with me all the time. Then Saucham, mental purity, automatically takes place. When the mental purity comes, the physical purity and the surroundings are not important. Absolutely irrelevant. Because the mind is pure. When the mind is pure, whether you're sitting next to a gutter or whether you're sitting in a palace, it really does not matter, because your mind is focused on love only, and that itself purifies everything. The body shines with tejas, like Paramacharya's body was. Okay, even when he was lying down on a bush, for example, of all places, in some remote villages, his body always shone. The tejas was there because of his internal purity. But to help achieve that, I need a crutch. The first crutch I must have is physical purity and surroundings, purity of surroundings. Otherwise, the mind will not come into control. It will go all over the place. To tame it, to help tame it, I must keep things pure, clean. Then the food I eat, that purity is very important. Everything is polluted, the Swami says. The water we drink is polluted. The food I eat is polluted. The air I breathe is polluted today. So how can you have a unpolluted mind? The only way to do that is to keep the chant the divine name. and chant it loudly so that the divine name, Bhagavan's name, actually removes the impurities in the atmosphere. That is why when you chant Rudram, for example, Ekadash Rudram, all these functions, they're all very important because their vibrations go there and remove the impurities present in the atmosphere. And if I chant Rudram here, it affects the atmosphere in Japan. I mean, it's all over the place. So this effect it has got. So Bhagavan's name is the only one that will purify it. So in terms of eating purity, because the food is the purity of food, there are three aspects to the food that is served on the table. Paka Suddhi, Padartha Suddhi, Patra Suddhi. Okay, Paka Suddhi, Padartha Suddhi, and Patra Suddhi. Let me repeat it again. In Sanskrit, may have spoken it too fast. Paka Suddhi. Paka Suddhi means the purity of the cook. It means mental purity as well as physical purity. We all know if a cook is dirtily dressed, shabbily dressed, and is dirty and all that, we would not take food from there, right? It's simple, right? And but mentally also you must be pure. You cannot be as an anecdote here, and I know my time is coming up for today, but let me share this with you. It's about powerful stories, and we will always continue with Bhagavan's ways as he guides us. One rishi went to have food in a person was hospitable, and he invited, so he went there to have to partake the hospitality. A saint, and they ate, and that night as he was lying down to sleep, he had his thought process was one of robbing others. You know, the like a thief, he was thinking, how can I rob this? The theft idea of theft and all came into his mind for the saint. And he said, what on earth, how can this happen? You know, I have never to do with any of these. I've been leading a spiritual sadhana and everything, keeping satsang and everything. Then, on inquiry, he found that the cook who made the food at that house actually was a thief before. He had thinking was a robber. So what the cook has an influence. That is why in our households, if you recall in our younger days, you know, our mother, grandmother, our spouses, whoever it may be, they all cooked only after taking bath, number one. Number two, they always went to the prayer room, puja room, lit the lamp, and did the slokam, and then went to the kitchen. And the third, some of you may have experienced it, they were always reciting some slokam or another while they were cooking. Okay, nowadays it is becoming less and less common, but this is how the purity was maintained. Then, this is a Paka Suddhi. Then there is a Padartha Suddhi. Padartha Suddhi are the materials I buy things, like whether it's vegetable or rice or whatever it may be. Is it really clean? Is it really unpolluted? Is it made with chemicals? Is it, you know, so many things are there. How was it being transported? Who touched it? So many things are there. And of course, I wash it, I clean it, etc., etc. That all of us do that. So there is a certain cleanliness, purity associated with that. Then the third is the Patra Suddhi. The pot I am using to cook. Not in every house you see clean pots. Some of them are very spick and span and very sparkling. They're very good in cleaning. But some people are not. So what happens to that? So the Patra Suddhi is also not there. So these three things, when you look at eating purity, so to overcome all this, because when I go somewhere, somebody's house or in my own house or to a hotel or wherever it may be, I don't know how are these three purities maintained. Therefore, of course, you say your prayer, the food prayer before eating food. That's very important. On top of that, what Avatar Bhushan Swami himself said you do, because there are three impurities present, the one way to make sure that the impurities don't touch you is to take a little bit of water in your hand before you eat and sprinkle it on the food, saying, Annam Brahma, Raso Vishnuhu, Bhokta Maheswaraha. Just say these three things. Annam Brahma, Raso Vishnuhu, Bhokta Maheswaraha, and sprinkle it. That will take care of all the impurities present in food. Very simple. And I do this wherever I go, whether it is Sao Paulo, Brazil, or Mumbai, or here in Dallas. It really doesn't matter. Or even sitting on a plane, that really doesn't matter. It's an automatic practice, very simple to do. Then, all impurities have been nullified. So these are the aspects about Saucham. The only way the purity, and this is a little bit of a thing I discussed with you, shared with you, the fundamental thing for Saucham is keeping the company of Bhagavan in one's mind. All the other things we do that we talked about is to help facilitate the process of keeping Bhagavan in one mind. Okay? Now, with Swami's grace, we will continue tomorrow. Our time is up for today. Om Sri Guru Bhyo Namaha Harihi Om Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Samastalokaha Sukhino Bhavantu Om Sante 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 Harihi Om.